Welcome to your favorite channel, where you'll learn everything you need to know to improve your health and lifestyle. Let's get started.
All right, let's dive into something pretty fascinating. We're going to talk about a part of your body you think you know everything about, but, well, it holds some incredible secrets. We're talking about your muscles and how they basically act as your own personal built-in pharmacy. I mean, just think about that question for a second. What if that were true? It's a really powerful idea because it completely changes how we think about exercise. It's not just about burning calories anymore. It's about dispensing powerful, protective medicine to your entire body. So to really get why this internal pharmacy is so incredibly important, we have to set the stage a little bit. We need to look at the health challenges that, let's be honest, we're all dealing with today. We are facing a huge global surge in chronic diseases, things like obesity and insulin resistance, which is that first step towards type 2 diabetes. And then there's this thing called metabolic dysfunction-associated steatotic liver disease, or MASLD for short, that now affects nearly a third of all people on the planet. And on top of that, you've got dementia. Now, these aren't separate problems. They are all connected, and they really demand that we find a new way to think about our health. So where's the solution? Well, it turns out one of the most powerful tools we have has been hiding in plain sight this whole time. It's our skeletal muscle, and it has a secret identity that goes way beyond just helping us move. You know, for over a century, scientists were on this big hunt for a mysterious exercise factor. They knew that when muscles were working, something was being released into the body to coordinate everything, but they just couldn't nail it down. Then, in the early 2000s, bam, a huge breakthrough. Researchers finally identified a specific molecule, interleukin-6, being released directly from muscle fibers. And that discovery, it changed everything. And that single discovery led to this massive shift in our understanding. We now officially classify skeletal muscle as an endocrine organ. Yeah, that's right. It's in the same category as your pancreas or your thyroid gland. It's not just some mechanical tool, it's a sophisticated chemical communication center. Now, this image might look a little technical, but it shows the idea perfectly. See the muscle there in the middle? When it contracts, it starts releasing these chemical messages that travel all through your bloodstream. They go to your liver, your fat tissue, your bones, even your pancreas, and they tell those organs what to do and how to adapt. It's like a body-wide conversation, and your muscles are the ones leading. Okay, so if muscle is this big communication hub, what language is it speaking? You know, what are these chemical messages? Well, they belong to a very special class of molecules. They're called myokines. Think of them as the actual words your muscles use to talk to the rest of your body. The name makes sense. Myo means muscle, and kine means signaling molecule. So every time you exercise, you're basically telling your muscles to start this very important conversation. And we're not just talking about one or two chemicals here. Scientists have found hundreds of different myokines. For instance, that IL-6 we just mentioned, when it comes from muscle, it actually fights inflammation and helps you burn fat. Then there's myonectin, which helps manage how your body uses fats. And then there's one called irisin, which has some truly incredible effects, especially when it comes to the brain. So let's zoom in on irisin for a second, because this really shows you just how deep this muscle-to-organ conversation goes. This isn't just about your metabolism. It goes all the way up to your brain and your cognitive health. Okay, check this out. This diagram shows the amazing journey irisin takes. When you exercise, your muscles release it into your bloodstream. It can then travel all the way up your body and actually cross the blood-brain barrier. And once it's inside your brain, it does these two incredible things. It boosts something called BDNF, which is basically like fertilizer for your brain cells. It helps them grow and stay healthy. And it might even help clear out those nasty amyloid plaques that are linked to Alzheimer's. This is a direct physical link between, say, doing a squat and protecting your brain. It's amazing. So if your muscle is a pharmacy and these myokines are the medicine, then the next logical question is, how do we fill the prescription? Well, the answer is pretty simple. You've got to flip the on switch. And this brings us to that classic debate, right? What's better? Should you be doing aerobic, endurance stuff like running? Or should you be doing resistance training like lifting weights? Which one does a better job of turning on this powerful system? Well, a recent study wanted to get to the bottom of exactly that question. Researchers took a group of overweight and obese women and split them into 3 groups for 8 weeks. One group did aerobic training, one did resistance training, and a control group, well, they didn't exercise. So after those 8 weeks, they measured some really key metabolic markers, and they paid special attention to insulin resistance, which, as we know, is a huge risk factor for all kinds of chronic diseases. And the results? They were striking, just crystal clear. Take a look. After just 8 weeks, both the aerobic group and the resistance training group saw a really significant drop in their insulin resistance. Those are the two lower bars. And the control group? Well, you can see for yourself, not much changed at all. So what's the big takeaway here? It's not an either-or. It's not about cardio versus weights. The whole point is that both of them are incredibly powerful tools for flipping that switch and activating your muscles' endocrine function. The best exercise is simply the one that makes your muscles work. Once you understand all this, it totally reframes your reason to move. It's not just about looking better or hitting a short-term goal. It's literally about performing a regular whole-body systems upgrade. When you turn on this system, you're making your body better at handling sugar. You're actively protecting your liver from that dangerous fat buildup. You're safeguarding your brain against decline as you age. You are creating a body-wide anti-inflammatory state that helps out every single one of your organs. And that's exactly what the researchers from that study concluded. They said that regular training enhances our metabolic status and improves our overall health. You are literally taking direct control of your long-term health just by using your muscles for what they are, this incredibly powerful endocrine organ. So, this leaves us with a final thought. Exercise isn't some chore that you have to suffer through. It's a prescription you get to write for yourself. And now that you know you have this power, this internal pharmacy at your command, the only question left is, what's your prescription gonna be?
Here are some tips to help you have a healthy and strong body and mind. Remember that we upload videos every day.
All right, welcome to The Explainer. We're all looking for the secret to a long life, right? Well, what if I told you it's not some hidden secret, but a blueprint? One that's been right in front of us all along. Today, we're gonna crack that code. And it's not just about adding years to your life, it's about adding life to your years. So let's start with a really important question. What are you really aiming for? Are you just focused on your lifespan? Or are you thinking about your health span? Seriously, think about that for a second. What's the point of living longer if those extra years are just miserable, right? Getting this distinction right, well, it changes absolutely everything. Yeah, see, lifespan, that's just the number, the total years you're on this planet. But health span, oh, that's the good stuff. That's all about the quality of those years. The years you're feeling great, you're active, you're free from all those chronic diseases we dread. The goal here isn't just to limp across the finish line at 100, it's to sprint, or at least jog comfortably right to the end. That's the prize.
Okay, so where do we find this magical blueprint? Well, it turns out we look to these places called blue zones. Think of them as these little pockets of the world that are like natural laboratories for a long life. We're talking about 5 specific places: Okinawa in Japan, Sardinia in Italy, Nicoya in Costa Rica, Ikaria in Greece, and even one in the US, Loma Linda, California. In these places, people aren't just living longer. They're hitting 100 at incredible rates, and they're doing it without all the chronic diseases that we just assume are a normal part of getting old.
So, here's the plan. We're gonna dive deep and crack their code. We've distilled all their secrets down into 4 main pillars. We'll go through them one by one, and then, at the end, we'll talk about how you can take all this and start building your own personal blue zone.
Sound good? All right, let's jump right into our first pillar: how we move.
Now, the way people in blue zones approach physical activity, it's so simple, but it's probably gonna flip what you think of as exercise completely on its head.
Check this out. The longest-lived people on Earth, they don't work out. Not like we do, anyway. You're not going to find a 95-year-old Okinawan signing up for a CrossFit class. It's just not a thing. For them, movement isn't something they schedule. It's just a natural, unavoidable part of their day. And this is a huge mindset shift, right? For most of us, exercise is this intense 1-hour blast to the gym, and then we sit for the other 15 hours of the day. For them, it's the total opposite. Their entire world is set up to make them move constantly, but gently. They're out in the garden, they're walking to a friend's house, they're doing things by hand. It's this all-day, low-level hum of activity that keeps them going.
So, how can we, in our modern world, copy this? Well, there's this really cool idea called the Centenarian Decathlon. It's simple. Think about the 10 things you really want to be able to do when you're 95 or 100. Like picking up a great-grandchild, carrying your own groceries, climbing a flight of stairs.
Then you train for that, right now. It's about training for life, not just for looks. Okay, movement is huge, but it's only one piece of the puzzle. Let's talk about pillar number 2, food. What are we putting in our bodies? And just like with movement, you're gonna see it's not about some single magic superfood. It's all about the overall pattern.
And wow, is the pattern clear. When you look at all the blue zones, their diets are, on average, 95% plant-based. And the foundation, the cornerstone of their diet? It's not goji berries or some expensive powder, it's beans. Yep, humble beans. Fava beans, black beans, lentils, you name it. Plus tons of whole grains, nuts, and veggies. Meat? That's more of a special occasion thing, not an every single day staple.
But it's not just what they eat, it's also how they eat. In Okinawa, they have this little mantra they say before a meal, hara hachibu. It's a reminder to stop eating when you're 80% full. Think about that. That little 20% gap, the one between, I'm not hungry anymore and, I'm stuffed, that can be everything. It's literally the difference between gaining weight or losing it over time.
And yeah, if you look across the different regions, the specific foods change a bit. You've got sweet potatoes in Okinawa, fava beans in Sardinia, corn and squash in Costa Rica. But the theme, it's always the same, whole foods, stuff that hasn't been messed with too much. And, you guessed it, mostly plants.
Okay, we've covered moving and eating, but living a long, happy life, it's not just about the physical stuff. It's also deeply connected to how we feel, who we connect with, and honestly, this might be the most important and most overlooked pillar of them all.
In Okinawa, they have a word for this, ikigai. It basically translates to your reason for being. It's why you get out of bed in the morning. And this isn't some fluffy, nice-to-have idea. Having a real sense of purpose is a powerful, powerful engine for a long and healthy life. It's your North Star.
And this isn't just talk. This has real, measurable effects on your body. Get this. Studies show that knowing your purpose can add up to 7 extra years to your life. 7 years! And on top of that, it helps protect your brain from decline as you age. That's incredible.
So the big takeaway here is that your connections, your tribe, are basically a prescription for good health. Being part of a community, putting your family first, even just making sure your friends are people who lift you up and support healthy habits, it all matters. Your social circle can literally be the most powerful health intervention you have. Okay, time for our last pillar. And this one deals with something every single one of us has to deal with, stress. It's not about avoiding stress. That's impossible. It's about how we handle it, how we recharge and protect ourselves from it. This is gonna sound a little weird, but stick with me. Did you know that every night, when you go to sleep, your brain gives itself a wash? It's true. There's this incredible system called the glymphatic system. And when you're in deep sleep, it switches on and acts like a power washer for your brain. It flushes out all the junk and metabolic waste that builds up while you're awake, including the nasty proteins that are linked to Alzheimer's disease. So yeah, getting enough quality sleep isn't a luxury. It's absolutely essential for your brain. And speaking of stress, here's an amazing way to picture what it's actually doing to you on a physical level. You know the little plastic tips on the ends of your shoelaces? Well, you have something similar on your chromosomes called telomeres. And chronic stress, it's like taking sandpaper to those little caps, fraying them and shortening them. It's literally aging you from the inside out at the genetic level. But the people on the blue zones have figured this out. They have these built-in daily routines to downshift and shed stress. It could be a short nap, time for prayer, or even just a happy hour with friends. They prove that managing stress has to be a daily practice. And the cool part is, things like meditation can actually help boost an enzyme that rebuilds those telomeres. You can literally help slow down the aging process. Okay, so we've got the 4 pillars. Move wisely, eat for life, connect deeply, and rest and recharge. So now what? How do we take all this and actually use it? It's all about becoming the architect of your own life, building your own personal blue zone, right where you are. And this, to me, is the best news of all. We tend to think our health is all written in our genes, right? Well, it turns out genes only account for about 20% of how long you live. 20%. The other 80%? That's your lifestyle. That's your environment. That's the stuff you have control over. You are in the driver's seat. So, I want to leave you with a question. Building a long, vibrant life? It's not about some radical, overnight transformation. It just starts with one small change. One simple step that makes the healthy choice the easy choice. Maybe you put a bowl of fruit on your counter instead of cookies.
Maybe you just decide to take the stairs at work tomorrow. So, what's it going to be? What's your one small change?
If you found this video helpful, please subscribe and help me reach my goal of 1,000 subscribers so I can bring you better content. See you tomorrow with a new video.